Steeping. So we use the green needle, okay? When you're gonna be at the DMV, the bus will be off, okay, when you go into test. I will have the air pressure already down. Now, if you're doing it on a daily where you're just doing it yourself, you have to let the air out with the bus off or it won't work. You want to bring that green needle down to about 80, between 85 and 80, okay? So the way you turn on the bus, I don't even know if I've showed you guys this or not. You put your foot on the brake and you're going to turn the bus into night run. It's where this black switch is your master run switch, and you're going to put the little arrow where the little light picture is at, okay? If you look here, you see the two lights, the little green lights. That means it's in night run. That means your lights are on the outside. So if anyone ever says, how do you turn on your headlights? That's how you turn them on, with this black switch, okay? Can you see, Max?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so you turn this master run to night run, and then to power it on, you just hold your foot on the brake and you press the power button. You don't have to hold it, just press it, and then you'll get this okay. That means the bus is on. Now you can hear it. You hear it going? That means you're gonna hear your air compressor. It started moving. You see the needle moving? That means it's filling the air in. So this is your first test. When you're doing your brake test, you would say, I'm looking for my cutout. It should be no more than 140 PSI. So when you get in the bus the day of your test, the arrow will already be out. All you do is turn it on, press the power, and tell the examiner, I'm looking for my cutout. It should be no more than 140 PSI. That's your first test. And you just keep your foot over the brake, but not on it, because if you're pressing down, you let it lets air out, but we want to put air in.
What do you call it? The cutout?
Because that's the word they gave it, but it's actually when your air compressor stops working. They call it cutout. It used to be cut in, meaning you gotta let the air out so it could start working, and that's the cut in, but we don't do that anymore. We just say I'm looking for my cutout, meaning the air compressor stopped. So you'll see it stop moving, and sometimes you can hear it, but I'm talking so you probably didn't hear it stop. It's very quiet. Some of the big buses or the older buses, and like you'll hear probably a diesel truck, it goes psh. That's where the air compressor stops. We have a silencer on ours, so it's quiet. So once the needle stops moving, all you're gonna say is my cutout was at either, every little notch is 5, so 20, 125, 130. My cutout was at 130. That was a good test. That's the end of the first test, okay? Now, before I continue, I'm gonna explain a little more. The reason we test these different tests is because we want to make sure that all of our alarms are working while we're gonna go drive, okay? So that first test is telling us that the air compressor is going to work and fill the air back in, because every time you step on the brake, while you're driving, you're letting air out. That needle keeps going down. It keeps going down. So at 85-ish, it's going to trigger the governor to turn it on and fill it back up. Okay, so you shouldn't get below 85 PSI while you're driving all day long. It should constantly fill it. You won't pay attention to it, but once in a while you'll look down and be like, oh yeah, it's working, it's filling up all day long. And when you open the doors, when you step on the brake, it lets air out, air, right? Okay, so that's why we test that first test. The second test, we're checking to see if we have any leaks. So they call it the applied leakage test. So you put, I think of it like this. You put your foot on the brake just slightly, and you're gonna turn off the bus all the way with this black switch. We don't turn off the bus here. This is just to start it. So you turn it to off. And then you have to put it back in night run. So your dashboard lights back up. But we're not gonna power on the bus again until we do 4 tests. Okay? So the rest of these 4 tests is with the bus off, but you have your electronic dashboard lit up so you can get your alarms, okay? So this test is called the applied leakage test. So the way I try to remember it is apply your foot on the brake and you're gonna hold it. Don't move your foot, just hold it, because every time you move it, you lose air. Then you're gonna release your parking brake, okay? You're gonna look for the needle. I have about 115 right now. Now you're gonna tell the instructor, I'm doing my applied leakage test. My needle is at 115. I should lose no more than 3 PSI in 1 minute. You have a watch, you're gonna time for 1 minute. After the minute's up, you're gonna say, my needle is still at 115. I lost 0 PSI. Or you're gonna say, I lost 1 or 2 or even 3. You can lose up to 3. You shouldn't, because these buses are pretty new and they're very well maintained, so you shouldn't. The only time you're gonna lose air is if you go. If you move your foot. You see how the needle moved? If you accidentally move your foot. So that's why I say, once you step on this brake, hold it. Don't move your foot. Release the parking brake. Tell where your needle's at. I'm gonna lose 0. I should lose 0 to 3 PSI in 1 minute. My minute starts now. Time it. Once the minute's up, my needle's still at 115. I lost 0 PSI. That was a good test. That's number 2. 3 is going to be your low air warning buzzer or alarm. The reason we test this one is if it goes below 85, you're going to get a buzzer telling you you have air leaking and the governor's not putting the air back in. So you get a low air warning. So the only way to show this one is to pump the brake and bring the air down below 85 till the buzzer comes on. That's you're gonna tell where your buzzer started at. This one you should go no less than 55 PSI. You're gonna find your front low air warning buzzer and then your rear low air warning buzzer, okay? So you just start pumping. And that's what you would say. I'm looking for my low air warning buzzer or light. It should be no less than 55 PSI. And this is why we have to have that dashboard on. Sorry. Came on, see right here? Front brake air pressure low. It came on at 85. That's a good test. Now I'm going to show you my rear. You just keep pumping the brake again until that says rear. Came on, rear low air warning. So I'm at a 65. That's a good test. Why? Because it didn't go below 55, right? Yes. Now the last test with the engine off is going to be our spring brake pop-up, which is also your parking brake. Remember, this whole time this has been off, okay? So we want this. If you get low air warning, and you haven't pulled over at 45 to 20, this is going to pop up and stop the bus if you keep driving. It's going to stop you in an intersection, on the freeway, wherever. If you didn't pull over with that first low air warning, because maybe you didn't hear it or it was loud, you weren't paying attention, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have low air, I got to pull over, because you're not going to have a brake. If you don't have air, you don't have a brake. So this little parking brake is called also the spring brake pop-up. So it should come on between 45 and 20. And the way we test it is just keep pumping until it pops up. And then you'll tell the examiner where it popped up at. So we're at 45. Popped up at 40. Okay, now because it's up, you're going to hold the brake. You're just going to power back on the bus. You should get it okay. Okay's on. That means the bus is on. You can relax your leg because by now you have a big muscle in your right leg. you're gonna let the air build all the way back up so you can do the last 2 tests, okay? This is where you would get out of your seat, step off the bus, pull the chocks from under the wheel, bring them back in, and get back in the seat, seatbelt, and just wait for the pressure to come all the way back up, okay? I know it's a lot, but once you start doing it, it'll make sense to you. It's easier for you to do it than me to show you. But I wanted you to see how it is done. So we just wait for the pressure to build up.
So you chalk the wheels at the onset of...
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So when we get to the DMV, I have the bus prepared for you guys. I have the ramp power on. I have the air out, so you don't have to do it while they're in the bus. It's already ready. All you do is turn it on and say, I'm looking for my cutout. There you go. If it's on past 85, you have to turn off the bus, let all the air out, then start your test. So I didn't know until about a month and a half ago that I could have it prepared, because I kept hearing all the other truckers, and I was like, oh, they're letting the air out. That's what they're doing. They're setting it up. So I started doing it. I was like, that was a good job, because it makes it easier for you guys. So I have the chocks already out, so everything's ready. Once you guys learn this, it'll all make sense. So then when you go to test, the bus will be prepared for you already that morning or whenever time your test is. Okay, so the compressor stopped. We're back up all the way full of air. So now the last 2 tests are very simple. The first one, with the parking brake on, engaged, it's up. You put your foot on the brake and you put the bus in drive. You see the D, right? So the bus is in drive. You see the P here telling you your parking brake is engaged. You take your foot off of the brake and you check for a dead throttle. So you would say, I'm checking my parking brake and it should hold the bus. I put it in drive. I take my foot off the brake, check for a dead throttle, put it back over the brake. My parking brake held the bus. That was a good test. The reason for that is with the parking brake engaged, just for theory, if somebody were to get in the bus that doesn't know how to drive the bus, but they want to try to take the bus, and they start pushing gears, they don't know how to take, most people don't know how to take the parking brake off unless they were a driver before. So this bus shouldn't move, even though it's on, changing gears, it's not going nowhere, okay? So unless they know to release this brake, the bus shouldn't move, okay? Or if you accidentally get out and you pulled your brake but you forgot to take it out of drive, the bus isn't gonna roll. It's not going nowhere, okay? So that's why we check for the accelerator to be dead. So that's all you do. Put it in drive, check for dead throttle. That was a good test. The last test we're gonna check is that our service brake is gonna stop the bus when we want it to stop the bus, right? At the same time, we're checking that we have good alignment, and the way we do that is this is what you'll say. I'm gonna roll the bus forward approximately 5 miles an hour. I'm going to check my service brake that it stops the bus, and my steering wheel doesn't pull right or left. You release the parking brake. Hold on, I'm not gonna stop hard. You're gonna roll forward a little bit with your hands under the wheel, not touching it. Come to a stop. My service brake stopped the bus. My wheel did not pull right or left. That was a good test. Secure the bus. You're done. That's it. 6 steps. It seems like a lot, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, okay? I know it's kind of hard while I'm doing it and you're watching, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview on, like, don't be afraid, don't go like this. You'll be here all day trying to let air out, right? So the reason also we turn off the bus and we put it back in night run, because if the bus is on, the compressor's working. You'll sit here all day trying to let air out. With the air compressor off, I can let air out easily. If I have the bus on, the compressor is gonna fight you. You're gonna try to let it out, and it's gonna put it right back. So you'll be going, why isn't the air coming out? I've been pushing for an hour. So don't be afraid to step on it, because a lot of people get in and they go, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta step on that brake, because you'll be here all day. So just push it. If you give it a couple of, you don't have to go like that. Just push it down, and you see it moving, right? So, that's it. That's the whole air brake test. It's 6 steps, and it's a little tricky. The hardest thing everybody has is turning the bus off and releasing the parking brake for the second one. So this is how I do it. I tell everybody, first test, you're gonna turn it on. You push the power button. I'm looking for my cutout. Let it build up. My cutout was at whatever number it stopped at. That was a good test. Immediately turn it off. You let it go dead. Turn it back on. Okay, and then applied leakage. Apply your foot on the brake. Take the brake off. Let the needle settle. Tell where the needle's at. Time it for a minute. Tell where the needle's at. You lost 0 psi. That was a good test. Then go low air warning, and then pop up. Build the air back in. Parking brake, rolling brake. Okay. You're all looking like, no, I don't know what you're doing. But you guys will get it. You guys will get it. I promise you will. Everything, I wrote it on that page. It's exactly how I do it. But don't try to remember, don't recite everything on that paper. Tell me the test, what you're doing to find it, and what was the result. A lot of stuff I put in there was only for your information. Like, it's going to say, don't take your foot off the brake because you don't have a brake on. When this parking brake is off, always have your foot on this brake. Just because these buses don't really roll, but you never know. We don't want to find out. So if this is released, you have nothing holding the bus. So don't sit back here and your parking brake's off. Your foot should always, when I say cover the brake, that means have your foot right here. Be ready to step on it if you have to. If your foot's back here, even though it's literally right in front of you, it still gives that extra couple seconds that you have to react, right? If your foot's here, all you have to do is push down. If you feel a move, you can just get it. But if you're back here, now your brain has to tell your foot to move forward. I'm just saying, it's just safer if your foot's always covering the brake. If you're letting air in, don't push down on it, because if you push down, it's letting air out. So you're going like this. Okay, so if you're letting the air come in, you make sure you just have your foot here, but not holding it. Yep, I just set off the front brake. So you guys understand a little bit? Mm-hmm. Okay. So whoever wants to go first, and everybody else can go outside and walk around